Come what may, bring it on. I'm gonna love it.
Welcome to LDS Unmarried Life. This is a podcast for single members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who find themselves single either because they're divorced, widowed, or not yet married. There is no affiliation with the church. This podcast can be found on my website at AnnetteTalks.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and YouTube. And before we get to the topic, I've been trying to find a way to get my listeners together in one place to have like a discussion about the episodes or just about anything. And I've tried Facebook, and Facebook, if you're my Facebook friend, you know I'm having issues with them. But I have a goal now to get us onto my YouTube page where there's a discussion board. And if you get enough subscribers, you have what they call a community where everyone can talk, and I can post episodes, polls, videos, all sorts of cool things. So I would like my listeners to go to my YouTube channel, Annette Talks, and subscribe, and that would be great. All right, and so today I am joined by Sarah Worlton. Say hi, Sarah.
Hey, happy to be here.
And we are going to be talking to Sarah because Sarah is a wonderful, incredible human being.
Thank you.
And she came to my attention again because Sarah lives in the greater Denver area here. Are you still downtown?
No, Southeast Denver.
Oh, okay.
Downtown is too expensive.
All right, because I remember we went to your place that one time.
For poetry night.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fun. What if we did like a book poetry reading?
Yeah. Yeah, every April in honor of Shakespeare's birthday.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, anyway, it was cool. We went downtown to Sarah's apartment. But anyway, The point of this, the reason why she's here is that Sarah is a humanitarian, and she has been working with a group, it's called Choice, for about 10 years, working in Central America and South America, or just...
Central America, well, Choice is in several countries, but I've been to Central America and Asia.
All right.
Yeah.
And I got to hear the story when you spoke at a fireside here a few months ago, and it was fabulous.
Thank you.
And it was wonderful. I mean, the pictures, the presentation, the message, it was all awesome.
Thank you.
And so I thought, when I was watching, I'm like, she's got to come on my podcast. She's this incredibly wonderful single sister, and she has so much to say. And so here you are.
Happy to be here.
Yes. And so I want to hear your story. Now I'm going to be calling this episode, Are You Happy in Your Heart?
Yes.
And that comes from your experiences. And before we get into it, you have a blog called areyouhappyinyourheart.blogspot.com.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And that's a good place to find you. Also, Facebook, Instagram.
Yes, all the things. Yeah.
Right. And eventually you're going to have your own podcast.
Yes, I am working on that. That's still in the works, and I will advertise that like crazy when it's ready to launch. It's still in kind of the, it's still being created.
Yeah, I know it takes a while.
Yeah,
this is not an overnight thing.
No.
So when you say you're working on it, I want to say one word: patience.
Yes.
And
like everything,
you'll think it's going in one way, and it'll go in a different way.
Yes.
And you'll be like, I never expected that.
Oh, just like life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought my podcast was going to be about politics and the Constitution, and eventually I will start a second one about that. But this is where I was firmly guided to go. And so watching your story and listening to what you go through, I know you're firmly guided as well. And you're following the guidance, and it's taking you in all sorts of wonderful places.
You know, the path is being lit one lantern at a time. Yeah.
So tell us how this started 10 years ago.
So 10 years ago, I was living in Washington, D.C., and I had a fun life. I had great friends. I traveled a lot, spent weekends on the beach, and I went to the presidential inauguration, and I would help my sister with her kids and that lived in the downtown, and my life was pretty hopping. And
it sounds kind of like your awesome, way cool, super fun single life.
Super fun single life with time to spare and money to burn. And, and I found a lot of people like that. And my good friend Tyler informed me that he was recruiting as many people as he could from coast to coast to go on a humanitarian trip to Guatemala. And I was like, Tyler, that sounds dumb. And I don't know why I was such a stinker about it. But he's like, yeah, it just, for some reason I sounded contrived, and I stuck my nose up at it. And it was at that time that I had a lot of introspection, and I realized that what I was doing day to day, the fulfillment of it was just minimal and fleeting. And I really wanted something that I could really sink my teeth into. I didn't go on a mission, and
And you have not been married, right?
No, I've never been married, no kids. And so I was just kind of at a personal crossroads. And I remember sitting in my car, living in, the DC metro area down in Springfield, Virginia, talking to my mom saying, is this it? There's got to be something more to life. Like I would date and I would go to parties and they were fine, but the happiness was fleeting. It was a journal entry. It was a picture on Facebook, was just barely starting to come out. And it was like, eh. So I told her that there was this humanitarian trip coming, and it could be really expensive, and is it safe? And Guatemala, like, what? It's not a destination that you and your friends really like come together and go to. More like I just gotten back from Europe or just gotten back from Puerto Rico, and then I remember fasting about it one day. And it was such an interesting fasting experience, like I remember I was working from home and I was fasting and I was praying, and then all of a sudden the answer came, Sarah, you can stop fasting, dummy. This is a no-brainer. Okay.
Does the Spirit call you dummy?
No, he sure doesn't. He was like, dear sweet daughter. But it was more like, come on, you're done. Go eat. This is a no-brainer, girl. Yeah. And so I called Tyler and I told him I had a change of heart, and he was like, I knew it. And
sometimes the truth just has to sink in for a while.
It has to sink in.
Like it sounds so, I know that happens a lot in life, right? Something sounds stupid. Like, I didn't want a podcast about being single, honestly.
No, and it seems
I don't want to spend the rest of my life talking about being single. But obviously there's a reason for these things.
There's a reason. And I feel like the Spirit teaches us in ways that we'll understand, but also at the time that we'll receive it, that we're ready to take it in.
Right.
And I was so... it was just a clear path all the way. Like I was able to afford it, and I had to do a little bit of fundraising because it was kind of a lot, but I was able to just figure it out with no problem. And when I got there, I met all these wonderful people, and I just can't believe that one decision has put me on a trajectory for a decade, and maybe even before, the people that I've met. And so going on a humanitarian trip, I'm like, okay, am I going to be like eating beans and rice, sleeping on the floor, covered in fleas, digging in dirt? Well, yes. And you're going to be sweaty and hot too.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
And
right?
so, and the people that I met are people that I'm friends with to this day. And so the first expedition was going to lots of neighboring villages in the Polachic region in Guatemala. So it's an area where people are living in extreme poverty, which by the UN definition, they're living on less than $1.90 a day. And so that means they lack like clean water, basic health care, schools, things like that. And so we were going to build a school, the first secondary school in the village of Sahonte. And so you get a bunch of Americans there, and you're like, okay, well, I don't speak Quechua. And it's...
so it's not even Spanish.
So it's not even Spanish. So a lot of the men there speak Quechua and Spanish. So a lot of times we had to do this leapfrog translation. We had to find someone who spoke Spanish and speak to someone who spoke Spanish and Quechua, and then speak Quechua to someone who just spoke Quechua, and then leapfrog it back. Wow. So sometimes translation was delayed and frustrating, and not really frustrating, but frustrating because, look, where's the bathroom? But it's amazing how I found that you don't have to speak the language in order to make a difference. You literally just pick up a shovel and start digging. And, when we got up to this area, the lush mountains, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. It seemed like almost heavenly. This area where it was so far off the beaten path that I didn't even know it existed, The air carried a different weight, and the wind was had a unique smell that I was like, where am I? And it took a while to sink in. It took years for it to fully sink in and really interpret what was happening. But we were with a group called Choice Humanitarian, And they have boots on the ground 24/7 in Guatemala and also in 6 countries around the world.
Just out of curiosity, are they in Pakistan?
They're not.
I teach a class on Pakistan. And
Oh,
so
cool.
while you're describing this, I'm picturing
Okay.
rural Pakistan sounds exactly
Have you been
like
there?
what you're talking about. And I've never been there, and now I want to go, except it's just not safe,
No.
you know, I mean, unless you're Muslim. But it makes me want to go so badly, and it sounds like they need what you guys do, but I'm just guessing you're not there because of the safety issue.
Probably. Yeah.
Are they in India?
They're not, but they're in Nepal. And so
Right
they're
next
in
door,
7
yeah.
countries around the world. And so they, CHOICE stands for the Center for Humanitarian Outreach and Intercultural Exchange. So their goal is to eliminate extreme poverty. And that's a daunting statement.
Yes,
and for
it
them,
is.
For them to boldly declare that extreme poverty is inexcusable and belongs in a museum, that's a hefty statement. But they do it one village at a time, and they do it by trusting the poor and having them be leaders in their own communities. So, I mean, when disaster happens, you need relief. You need food, shelter, and water. And that's great because of a natural disaster, because those are your immediate needs. But what about the sustainable needs like education, clean water, healthcare? And in these villages, a lot of these remote areas, they're not connected to any sort of resources. And so CHOICE is not really a silver bullet, but it connects villages to different people, organizations, municipalities to help them further along their mission.
So they build schools.
Water systems, biogas digesters, chicken coops, whatever the village determines is what their immediate need. So I was in this village, and the cultural exchange is you work alongside them. And it's really amazing what you can accomplish when you don't speak the language, right? I don't speak Kekchi. I can count to 5. I can say hello, what is your name, and thank you. That's about it. And how you say hello is masala chol, which literally translates to are you happy in your heart? So that's what I really wanted. So I found that to be amazing.
Yeah, you know what, when you said it the first time at the fireside, it had the same effect as it has on me right now.
Yeah.
Which is like, the spirit is just like, that's amazing. That's such a great way to greet each other.
It is.
You know, I mean, to actually look at people and to connect with them, and instead of just, hey, how's it going? It's good. And then you walk on.
But is it really good?
Is it? And
No,
are you happy in your heart? And if you're not, then why aren't you?
And that's a statement that you have to take a second to think about. And so what I found on that first trip, I mean, it changed my life forever because I was so out of my element. And I mean, I'm a basic white girl, and I was shoveling and digging and mixing cement and 100% out of my element. I had no access to my phone, which was a gift. I had no access to my mom, which is for a hot second, I was like really sick and I was like, but you really just dig deep and you're present and you appreciate the moment for what it is. Even if you're sick, or even if you're a little homesick, or even if you're really tired and there's dirt and gravel everywhere, and you just lean into it because this moment may not happen again. And it's a really unique opportunity to learn a lot about yourself and to find out that you're stronger than you thought you were, or weaker than you thought you were. And so I left that village at the end of that week fully and completely changed. I felt happy in my heart because I didn't care about myself for a solid week, and I was connected with people, and I was free from distraction, and I was able to see a group of people who were living in extreme poverty but also had a great wealth. And that's something that I wasn't expected to see, that people were connected to family, that they were so connected to their community, but they lived life at a slower pace.
Are you saying they're happy without Facebook?
I am.
No, I
am. Happiness and Facebook do not go hand in hand. I mean, Facebook is great. Don't get me wrong. Facebook has changed the world in a lot of good ways. But I feel like a a lot of times we find happiness to be something that we want now, and we want it quick. We want to go through the drive-through and say, supersize happy, please. And what is that? It's different for everybody. Sometimes it's chocolate. Sometimes it's Netflix. Sometimes it's drugs, alcohol, or whatever, shopping, you know, and all things in moderation that our church teaches us. And sometimes those are great. Like, I love new shoes just as much as the next gal, right? However, in 3 months, are you still going to love those shoes?
Right.
Right? I mean, you might, but it's fleeting.
Right.
And
it's a surface happiness.
And it's a surface happiness, but I found that happiness down deep, I really discovered what that was. And what I thought that these people who are in such poverty, I didn't feel sorry for them. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm so glad I don't live in these mountains. I was so honored to walk side by side with them and to learn from them and realize that they have a great wealth, and it just so happens to be something that I don't have. Sometimes, like, we're so glued to our phones, girl, and so we are so connected to being connected.
Yeah, you know, there was an article, I just finished reading it in the Ensign, and I can't remember which article it was, but it was this month, April, and the author says, we come up with reasons why we can't do things. We're too busy or we're too tired.
Yeah.
And he says the too busy is often an illusion that we get from all of our screen time. The TV or our phones or radio, whatever. We're so busy looking at, and I am the first person to admit that's me.
Oh, it's me too.
I'm so busy looking at my notifications and how many likes, and especially now, I have such a great excuse with this podcast. I'm on all the time promoting it.
No, that's great.
But we give ourselves this illusion that we're busy by spending so much time responding to stuff that we're seeing on our little screens. But we're not really. If we put those things down, when they did that 10-day Facebook fast or social media fast,
sure,
I did it as well. And I remember getting up in church and bearing testimony. It's been 3 days since I was on social media, you know. But it really was great. And sometimes I really wish that we could just take a hammer to our phones and not have them anymore.
It's so true. And being in the village, you are so far away from any sort of connection. And you have games and you talk to people and get to know them. And it doesn't matter if you're digging next to someone who's a CEO and he's a multimillionaire, or someone who is, 20 and poor and just lost her job or whatever. You just don't know. It doesn't matter because you don't have that, well, let me look it up and find all their stats before I meet them, which is fine. And we do that to connect because we have that information at our fingertips. But what I found on these expeditions is you get to know people for who they really are. You see people want to be seen and people want to be heard. And when you give them that platform, in this case, in a village, mixing cement or sitting around in the evening playing a game, I'm constantly shocked. I was on an expedition in Mexico and there was this guy there. He was there with his girlfriend. They were 20, kind of adorable. It just kind of made you sick, but they were just like almost engaged. And they were so cute to watch. But this kid at one of our evening discussions, he just perks up and said, okay, everyone, I have a magic trick to show you. And I'm like, what? And all of a sudden he had the spotlight and he did this little math magic trick and let me guess what number you're thinking of type thing. And I was shocked. And I was like, I don't think I ever would have known that if we were in such a concentrated, screen heavy, heads down, screens up world, that he had this little hidden gift, or you know what I mean? Just something that simple that you discover people in their truest, rawest form. And sometimes it gets really raw if you don't shower for 5 days. But honestly, or there's spiders on the wall because you're creating memories. So
did that couple survive that trip?
They're married now.
I was going to say that would be a really good way to find out what someone's made of, wouldn't it?
It really does, because you're not wearing makeup and you're just in your truest form. And I find that I loved seeing people like that. And people who were 6 years old and someone who was 80 and he had a CPAP machine and we had to take turns cranking it because there wasn't a lot of power there in Nepal. And,
oh my gosh.
I mean, it was crazy. So I came back and I was bit by the expedition bug pretty hard. And I said, okay, well, I'll be back.
So how long was that first expedition?
A week.
Are they typically that long, that length
Yeah.
of time? Okay, so you go,
Yeah.
it's not like you're committing to a month or 2 months, or
No.
something, it's just like a week.
No, you're there in the village a week. And so Choice finds that is a long enough time for to make an impact, but a short enough time that you're not like, I am dying to go home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a good amount of time.
Does anyone else get out there and just have a really hard time the whole time and just want to go home the whole time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as an expedition leader, part of my job is to help reroute them, to help them have a good experience. And sometimes they're sick. Sometimes the kids I don't put a shovel in my hand because I'm 12 and what the heck. So you help them have another cultural exchange experience. Do you like jump rope? Go grab those kids over there. Duck, duck, goose. Or paint their fingernails. That seemed to be, there's so many ways that you can serve and that you can connect.
So people that go out there, you said a 12-year-old, someone's going out there with their parents?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is not just like only singles this is like anyone
no.
that wants to go?
This is pretty much, anyone, families, moms, dads, teenagers, kids, people who are retired, the whole gamut. And it's really fun to see families come together in this capacity, or people who are solo traveling throughout the world, or anybody, it's really kind of an interesting thing. So I became an expedition leader, and so I got to go back to Guatemala quite a few times after that, and every time was such a unique experience.
So you go once a year or twice a year?
About once a year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've also been to Mexico and Nepal, and all of them were such unique experiences that taught me a lot about service, taught me a lot about being distracted, and even when things don't go as planned. Oh, we love that. We have such we have our lives mapped out. I'm going to be married by the time I'm 23, and I'm going to have my babies by the time I'm 30, and I'm going to live in a cute house with a SUV and a Costco membership and, a trip planned to Disney next month.
Right.
Everything great. Maybe that's your ideal, but what happens instead? Life. Mm-hmm. You find yourself divorced. You find yourself 37 and single still. Or, you find all these different things. But what I found on these villages that we can be happy in every single stage that we're in, and that's something that you really have to dig deep to find. And sometimes your path, like you really want to go to Nepal and you're aching to go to Nepal and you're like, Vishnu, I will meet you in Nepal. And all of a sudden you find yourself in Nepal, but then you find yourself at the bottom of a trench with a torn ACL.
So tell us about that story. And this is Bishnu is his name?
Bishnu Adhikari.
And he's the one that was on Meet the Mormons, right?
Yeah. So Bishnu Adhikari is one of the small handful of Christians in Nepal who, as an adult, he was in graduate school, actually in Russia, and he found the missionaries and joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
In Russia, huh?
Yeah,
wow.
Well, he was in graduate school. He's an engineer.
Wow.
And I met him at a gala, and the moment he said namaste, I was like, I love you. Like, to be in his presence, I'm constantly honored. And I was at a gala, and I was at a weird transition in life, like we always are, and I said, Bishnu, I want to come visit you in your country. And he said, Sara, what can I do to make that happen? And I was like, well, you can pray that I can afford to come there someday. And he said, that I will most certainly do. And I just knew he would. And so years later, I find myself an expedition leader. I'd been to Guatemala 4 times, and I was good friends with the expedition coordinator at Choice. And I was like, Wade, get me to Nepal. It's my turn, And I've proven myself. And I just felt like I was ready, like that was the next step. So poof, there I was in Nepal. Couldn't believe it. That country it's astounding because...
I just think it's all mountains, isn't it? Like mostly mountains.
So there are a lot of mountains there. There's a big one. But if you, like in context for anyone who knows like Utah geography, picture yourself in Salt Lake City. And Everest is like in St. George. So it's just, okay. I think. So right. It's not like, poof, there it is. But you can get helicopter tours so you can see Everest. I haven't done that. But I found myself there, and the culture, it was just just incredible. And the power is out all the time.
Oh gosh.
And I was in this little restaurant in the Tibet guest house is where we were staying. And there was this map on the wall of when the heat was going to turn on, and it could be on. And this was January. No, it was December. Mm-hmm. And the heat was going to be on from like 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And so I get in my room, I crack open my duffel, and before going down to dinner, I put on literally every article of clothing I own. I'm like, I'm so cold. And so when the waiter came, he's like, "Namaste, Mom." And I said, "Can I get a Coke and some momos?" Which are like little pot stickers, right?
Okay.
They're called momos. And he said, "We don't have enough oil to cook those," because it was during an oil crisis.
Oh, dear.
Like, there was a reconstruction of the government, and India was cutting off its oil supply to Nepal.
Oh, gosh.
Oil for cooking, oil and gas for, like, cars. You know, it was just like, okay, so I'll have a salad and a lukewarm Coke, I guess. So it was really, it's just really interesting. But when we have these little moments we don't expect, you have to say, this is all part of the experience. You know, even though I had just come from Dubai and I was like eating like a queen, all of a sudden I was like, wait, you can't cook my what? But okay, it was so interesting. So
this is all part of the experience.
It's all part of the experience.
I like that, because that's something that's life, right?
It is.
When things happen. If you could look at it that way and just say, okay, my kids are acting up, or my car just broke down, or whatever. This is all just part of the experience.
It is. And you have to take the good and the bad and the frustrating and the miraculous, because it all weaves in and out of our tapestry, you know.
And a lot of times things that look bad end up being something really good.
Yeah, in the moment, I think it's also important to know that it's okay to say this blows and this sucks. But you know what? I can get through this because I have God on my side, and I just, tomorrow, this will not last forever.
Right.
Right. So we get to the village, and the village celebration entering into the village was awesome. And they put these big wreaths of flowers around your neck so much that it's like up to my chin. And mine was covered in ants. So I had like ant bites.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I'm like, why am I itchy? And so I take off all these wreaths and I hang them up in my my space for the week. And thank you, topical Benadryl. So I was fine. But and then the next day,
you know how to travel, I'll bet now, huh? You know what to pack for.
Oh my gosh, you might just have a separate podcast about awesomeness.
How to travel.
Awesomeness of
topical Benadryl
and doTERRA.
Yeah.
So the day of the accident, I was on the construction site. There was a school that got destroyed in the earthquake months earlier, and our job was to help the foundation. So this is like in the dirt, moving rocks. And I was chatting with some Nepali women, and they were teaching me how to say count to 5 in Nepali, which I don't remember how. And I was teaching them how to sing "You Are My Sunshine" in English while we're moving rocks. And so I kind of asked them, I'm like, were any of your things just like, how did your house survive the earthquake? And they just said one word, gone. I was like, oh man.
Wow.
Just completely gone. And I didn't know that that would be a lesson that I would need to learn, is sometimes you just have to pick up and start again. And so to make a long story short, I was jumping down into a trench because we were going to form an assembly line. You do those a lot on expeditions. It's a great little culture exchange, moving a pile of rocks from one side to another. And I landed on uneven surface, and I heard a loud pop, and I landed smack down on my bottom, and my eyes were shut, and this surge of pain. So I had torn ACL, and I was in a village in Nepal, and that was fun.
And probably not top-notch healthcare, I'm guessing.
No, I had just what I had with me. I had a lot of doTERRA. I had
doTERRA is great, but it doesn't do anything for your ACL.
No, it doesn't. But pain relaxers does.
Oh, good.
Muscles relaxers and ibuprofen, and trust me, any little like potion or lotion or pill in that village, I'm like, give it to me.
Try it. Well, it's just so funny because I have family members and friends that sell doTERRA.
Oh,
and so
okay.
I always have this joke going in my head because they say it solves everything. You know, I always want to say, well, break a leg, it ain't gonna fix my broken leg.
And that's so true.
But
and
anyway,
it's very much a you know, if I break my leg, I need the doctor. But also, I like the smell of lavender. But
yes,
anyway,
no,
so
I think they're all good together.
They're all good together. So I had right in that moment, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! I have waited my entire life to be here with Bishnu, with this team, as a representative of Choice Humanitarian, and what the heck?" I was so mad. I was hurt. I was embarrassed. And I was scared. How bad is this really? Am I going to have to be airlifted out of here? That's awesome. And was I happy in my heart? No. Not even close.
And not in your ACL. And not anywhere.
No. There was no part of head to toe, inside and out. I was just dark. And so people kind of rallied to help, and Zach and one of the guys on the trip named Brian did a little human chair and carried me down. And I was all wrapped up and doped up, and I just sat there, and I was like, okay, so what do I do now? Well, I'm going to sleep for a while. And Zach was my co-leader, and he really stepped up to the plate. I mean, that's why Choice always sends 2 people, because you got to be a team. Because if one person's sick, well, then you got to, be in charge of the state of the union of your participants and make sure all the things. There's a lot of moving parts that you have to do. And so I was out for the count for that day. And then I had a choice to make. I'm like, I can sit here and sulk and just check out for the next 4 days, or I can just kind of take this pain and shove it down and just decide that I'm going to have a good time, and I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to use this not insecurity, but this pain, this limitation, and what can you do? And so I decided to do that, and it was really hard, but I found that whole experience taught me that you can be happy in your heart even when things don't go as planned, because you are really taught what you're made of. And when you're brought to that breaking point, it's like God saying, I'm right here. Do you trust me? And sometimes it is like Peter stepping on the water, I think, and then when you find yourself sinking, he's like, come on, get up. And I found that people want to serve. People have that innate sense of connection. They want to help, even in the littlest way. So, and I found that necessity is the mother of invention. So the people in the village, they made me a walking stick. And that sits next to my fireplace as one of my most cherished possessions. Every time I move, I'm like, that does not go in the truck. This goes in my back seat, because it's precious. And they carved it. They wrote "Get well soon" in Sanskrit. I think that's what it says. It could say...
It could be for our wimpy American friend.
It could be basic white chick word, or would you like fries with that? So it's in Sanskrit. My Sanskrit's a little rusty, turns out.
That's awesome. Never have it translated, right? Never.
And I just trust. And I tied a bandana around it, and that helped me limp along. And the bathroom was up a stone step, and the squatty potty's a hole in the ground. So it was fun.
I think that's the hardest to me. That's the hardest part when I see these other countries like China and other countries where the bathroom consists of a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
That to me would be the hardest part, honestly.
It stresses everyone out, especially if people are just having stomach troubles or just any sort of anything.
I think using a porta potty is horrendous.
But I gotta tell you, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Get it done, move on. But don't linger.
Don't think about it.
See you later.
Don't look at it. Don't just do it.
And I don't know if that's, TMI would keep it clean, but that was rough. So when I got home, I read in a book once by Big Magic by Liz Gilbert, and she said, I don't know what I think about something until I write about it. And that's how I process things. And so when I came home, I was jet lagged. I had my braces were stained with eating all the Indian curry food. Yeah. They were yellow. I was hot. And And it was winter in January in Utah, and so everything was just gross outside and cold, and I was just in a really dark place. Well, how was Nepal? And I would say, I don't know yet. And what do you mean? I don't know yet. And it was mid-January, and my Christmas decorations were still up, and I had all of a sudden, people started to rally. Can I bring you food? Can I come visit you? I'm at the grocery store. Do you need something? And I'm like, yeah. Was it a sign of weakness? No, it was a sign of, this is my village.
Yeah.
This is my community. They want to help, and right now I need it. And then I wrote about it, and it was right then. I lived on the 3rd floor, and it was one of those that you go down the stairs, and I was really worried because if I had to leave quickly of a fire or something, I'm like, I can't move quickly. This is scary. And my brother, my dear sweet brother, what's up, John? He gave me a blessing, and he said, you will be able to heal physically, but first you must heal emotionally. And I thought that was really beautiful direction. And so I wrote everything down, and I just, in my journal, because that's for me very, very therapeutic. And once it was all written, I looked back and I said, okay, that's what happened in Nepal. I can heal now.
So tell me that quote again from that author.
So Liz Gilbert, she wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
Okay.
She wrote a book called Big Magic. And in it, she said, I don't know what I think about something until I write about it. And that really struck me. And so I was able to take that experience and say, you know what? It wasn't what I expected. And I eventually found happiness in my heart because God showed me that he was there to help through the people in the village, through Zach carrying me down, and through my friend Bill bringing me Drano and cotton swabs, just things that I needed, or taping my crutches so they didn't hurt my armpit, things like that. So, because people want to help. So it was a beautiful experience, and I'll make it back to Nepal someday, but not yet. Guatemala is my one true love. Wow. So, great experiences that I've had, and I'm grateful that I've done them as a single person, as a member of the church. That's something that we eventually want in life, and that hasn't been my path yet. And instead of saying, well, this sucks, there must be something wrong with me. No, I get to discover who I am. And this has been a huge part that I've learned about myself, and that I've learned about God's children, and it's just helped me become a better person. And it's something that I will do for the rest of my life, and that I want to take my children and my future spouse someday. That may not, if that does, we're going to a village, so have fun. Get ready. It's going to get dirty. And I've been really blessed because as an expedition leader, it's kind of a side gig, and I understand that a lot of times, if any of your listeners are like, oh, I'd love to do that, or I just don't have the time or the money, I get that. It's a huge time commitment, and it's a huge cost commitment. But I find that there are ways that we can serve here, not just Choice or any other organization, within your community, within, Denver Rescue Mission, or when we sorted clothes and that,
right.
I don't, Action Center, I think, in Denver, Aurora or somewhere. There's so many different ways that we can serve here and serve each other. So it's really changed my life, and it's made me realize that God really is aware of us. And I know that sounds so trite, but it's not trite. But it's everything.
Yes.
And it's just that one decision of calling Tyler 10 years ago and saying, Ty, I'm in, to standing there with him in the Pulla Cheek region, a couple of months later with tears streaming down my face, and he goes, aren't you glad you changed your mind?
So how is Sarah now different from Sarah 10 years ago, before that trip, the first trip?
I am more aware of the world we live in and what goes on, and the good, the bad, and the ugly that goes on. And I've been able to realize that poverty isn't really what I thought it was, and that we all have it. and that we all have a great wealth, but the people in these third world countries also have a great wealth. It's just depends on how you look at it. I am different because I'm more globally minded, and I'm just more grateful for a question hard to answer right on the spot, but I'm just I'm more aware of some of my insecurities and how to tackle them, because when I find when we're in these moments of absolute disconnection from the outside world and are fully present, I realize what does come to the surface. What thoughts, what impressions, and sometimes there are things that I'll deal with that later. Well, you have to deal with it now because Facebook's off. And what Instagram, what? You don't even know what time you don't even know what time of the day it is. Hey, Sarah, what time is it? I don't know. The sun's right there. It's 1. I don't know. And you realize things about yourself because they come to the surface. And those have been interesting moments of things that I need to learn about myself.
It sounds to me like you are much more connected to yourself than you were before. Yeah. And you're much more connected to other people than you were before. Yeah. And that is huge. Yeah. Because all the connection that we do on social media
is
not the real connection. I mean, there is some connection. Don't get me wrong.
There is.
I feel like I do have a pretty good relationship with a lot of the people that I talk to on Facebook. But it's not anything like the deep connections that we get when we're one-on-one with ourselves. Yeah. And with other people. Because over the last few years, I've started meditating, and I meditate 6 days a week.
That's great.
And it's made such a difference because it connects me with myself, but it also connects me with the spirit.
Yes.
Right? And so when you have that where you're connecting to the spirit and you're connecting to yourself, you just have so much more guidance and direction and understanding and awareness of who you are and where you're supposed to be going. Yeah. And so I see that in you. And it's just that you've done it over these little squatty potties and things. I don't know if I can do that, honestly.
Dig a hole in the dirt and find your soul.
Yeah, pretty much. But there are different ways to do it. And
there are.
You've done it in an incredible way with lots of awesome pictures, which I'm going to share with this episode.
Please.
And I'm inspired because you have found this way to serve others and serve your God and serve yourself all at the same time. Yeah. And so I'm really impressed with that. I hope that people will look into that. If they're feeling disconnected or if they're feeling a lack, like you were feeling, that this choice would be one way to go out and do some service. Where could they get a hold of Choice if they decide they want to do this?
Well, you can go to choicehumanitarian.org, and you can also reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to share pictures, share stories, and kind of do a little deeper dive into.
And again, you have a blog post, a blogspot. areyouhappyinyourheart.blogspot.com.
Correct.
And you're on Facebook.
Instagram, all the things. Easy to find. Sarah Worlton.
Sarah Worlton is Worlton.
Thank you.
And I will be putting that all in. That's one cool thing about show notes. If you go to AnnetteTalks.com, you look at the episode, and I will have all the show notes and pictures there as well. Yeah. So if you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or someplace, go to AnnetteTalks.com, look at the episode, and I will. You'll find all the information that I talked about. I'll link to the blog post, the blog spot. I don't want to keep wanting to call it the wrong thing. I will link to your blog spot.
Cool.
I will link to choicehumanitarian.org.
Yeah. And one tiny little thing. So there is a program within Choice called The Village. Okay. And it's a really easy thing that anybody can be a part of. And you can donate as little as $10 a month. And you get a t-shirt, you get a passport cover, a little swag bag, and a little card made from a kid in a village. And your money can go towards, it goes directly to the field, whether it's a chicken coop or a family garden or, a mosquito net in Kenya or anything like that. So it's something that you can immediately be a part of and stay connected to if expeditions aren't something within your scope of possibility right now, but if they are, I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about it. So.
That's great. That sounds more like what some of us who have kids and stuff aren't going. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it would be a great experience for my kids. Because I think everyone should be exposed to a developing country at some point. And that everyone that, like, I teach this class on Pakistan, and every semester when we go through the section on their housing and their water and their transportation, it's like a thank you, Heavenly Father, that I live here. And so I think my girls don't have much awareness of that. And so I'm trying to teach them that, especially if for no other reason, to be grateful and not to gripe at me if I don't buy the cereal they want, you know? Let's find out what real life is like out there and outside of our little bubble here, our first world bubble. And so, but it's great that there's also an option to just donate a few bucks and feel like you're contributing.
Be part of the village, because it takes a village.
That's right. I'm not a Hillary fan, but well, I'll allow it. Well, it's been really awesome talking to you today, Sarah.
So fun.
And you're going to be on our Come Follow Me podcast in a few. And I want to have you back when your podcast is up and running.
Stay tuned.
And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to link to it because it's really important. The podcast is going to be about whether you're happy in your heart.
Are you happy in your heart?
And different ways that people are finding that, right?
Yes.
Different
and
stories.
Why. Different stories. So are you happy in your heart? Stories that inspire happiness in everyday life.
You got your tagline. Excellent.
That's my tagline. So it's still in the works. So don't go looking for it just yet. But it'll be live shortly.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. Oh, such a pleasure to be here.
Good. All right. And you all can find this podcast again at AnnetteTalks.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and YouTube. And again, please go to YouTube and subscribe to my page at Annette Talks.
I'm going to do it right now.
All right. And we're going to get that community up where we'll have a place that we can all talk to each other on a message board and share our experiences, share thoughts, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you for listening again to LDS Unmarried Life, where LDS singles gather.
I'm gonna bloom where I'm planted. I won't take things for granted. Come what may, bring it on. I'm gonna love it.